Alright guys, so in this video I'll be talking about The Last of Us. Of course, my last video was all about the second game and why people dislike that game so much, so I thought I'd now focus on the first game and everything Naughty Dog did right to make it so good. In my opinion, it's one of the best games to be released and is probably in my top 3 favourite story games of all time. Therefore, this video is a good explanation as to why I believe that. So I thought I'd mention that this is all just my opinion, and feel free to have a conversation in the comments on what you actually think. Like the last video, which I'd like to say thank you for all the support you gave on that, so I hope you go on to enjoy this one as well. And just to mention early on that there will be spoilers in this video, so you've been warned. I definitely don't think I'm the only one who loves The Last of Us. It's become an incredibly popular story game, and I and many others can agree that it had a big impact on the term video games. To this day, it still has a lot of talk around it with such a big community and has gone on to win endless amounts of accolades. So let's jump into how it's accomplished that. Of course, and it may seem obvious, but the story of The Last of Us is a major reasoning as to why it is so loved, because they did do it so well. With the important factor of the character development in this game, which builds onto such a great story, which I've talked about a lot in my multiple Assassin's Creed videos. Pretty much all of The Last of Us characters are interesting or likeable characters, or even both. The relationship between Joel and Ellie is such a building block for the game's story, as we see their connection build and their bond kind of strengthen throughout the whole entirety of the game. Like where at the start Joel has nowhere near as strong of a bond with Ellie compared to the end. At the start he's a lot more miserable and grumpy, which the death of his daughter Sarah and how lonely he's kind of become definitely has a big effect on this. So then when he does first meet Ellie, he isn't all sure and tries to kind of not connect to her or trust her character, but in the end actually becoming a father figure to her in a way. Therefore, what I'm saying is that the balance in The Last of Us was executed so well, in terms of having a great set of characters for a well engaging story, where you watch the characters grow and change as you play through. Then there's the overall world of where The Last of Us actually takes place and is set. Not only that, but the whole idea of the post-apocalyptic theme and how The Last of Us makes it seem so immersive, unlike other games with the same thing. It's very unique in that aspect, where Naughty Dog created such a convincing feel of a post-apocalyptic world in terms of the government and what they do, and how it's not too exaggerated, whatever exaggerated actually means in a zombie apocalypse. But the actual infected isn't too over the top in that sense. Of course, it's not too realistic because we don't know what would actually happen, as I don't think it will happen, but it's somewhat convincing if it were to. Then let's focus on the gameplay of The Last of Us and what makes it so good. Of course, like I spoke about earlier, the immersive feel of the game is such a strong point in so many different ways. The overall survival factor is done so well by the feature of the crafting system to provide such a fun and real experience that isn't overly hard to follow or get to grips with, where materials can be limited at certain parts of the story, as well as the deliberate clunky feel of beating up people or infected, and the forceful recoil of shooting that adds on to the tension of the combat, but it's also fun as well as the wide variety of thinking missions and puzzles to figure out along the way, which aren't repetitive in my opinion like other games, and they become very interactive, which like I said in other games cannot be as enjoyable. So to wrap up my talk about everything Naughty Dog did right with The Last of Us, that's the main reasonings as to why I and many others really enjoy it, with improvements of course in the second game being expected, as it is 7 years after, but there's arguably many flaws that also come with it that I mentioned in my last video. So if you'd like to go ahead and watch that one after this, then you can go ahead. It's very much appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button down below, and if you enjoy my content or would like to see more, then you can also subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you all for watching. Comment down below what you think, and goodbye.